So I just took the carburetor out of this bike, and the reason I'm doing it is because it won't start. So I'm checking the jets, gonna make sure they're a little overstock, and then we'll go from there. These are the recommendations. Make sure the float's good, all that basic stuff. Just check the float height, and that's good. And how you want to do that is you have the car parallel, and then you look at that needle in the back and make sure it opens at the right time. Pretty much right when you go past parallel. You gotta do it with 2 hands and be steady with it, but then it'll open. All right, so I just took this idle screw out, and what I'm gonna do is replace it with a new one. So those tips usually wear down, and sometimes that's the issue. So I'm gonna just replace it and screw this in, and then, yeah. So here's the difference between these two. I'm also kind of surprised it doesn't have a spring on it. Most of the idle screws nowadays have springs, but yeah, I'm still gonna install it because it doesn't come with a spring here. See, from this angle it actually looks a lot newer, and hopefully that'll make the difference in the startup. All right, so here are the new jets, here are the old jets, and that's the old idle screw. So they're the same exact size, the stock. This is a 410 and this is a 40. So that's all good. I sprayed all the holes out in the carburetor. The float height's good, idle screw's good, air screw's good. And I'm just gonna clean off this surface because some reason it has like a little bit of, looks like silicone, so I'm gonna clean that off, and the seal's right here, and then it's gonna be ready to put back in the bike. The last thing I'm gonna add to it is a fuel line hose, and I got some extra lines for the fuel here to connect to here and right there. All right, so I cleaned in here where the seal sits. I set that in, and then I cleaned this surface too, just to double check. So everything's good to go back together, and it's got the new jets, it's got the new idle screw. So this is just the overflow line for the fuel, and I'm just gonna end up cutting this probably. You want it long enough so that it goes under the shock here, feeds under that little bracket and goes underneath the shock, underneath the bike. So I'm gonna make sure I have enough length for that. I could always cut it after too. And then, yeah, it should be pretty good. All right, the carb is back in the engine. I turned the fuel on just to make sure it wasn't leaking out of the bowl or anything like that. As you can see, I got that overflow line coming out here. So yeah, the carb's all set to go, and the last thing I'm gonna do is just get new fuel for this, and then adjust that idle screw.